Russian tanks are rolling in on Ukrainian soil as we speak. But while this is a Ukraine conflict, it has much to do with the US as well. Does corporate America stand to gain from the crisis? And if so, by how much? Let's take a closer look at this. First, weapon manufacturers like Raytheon Technologies and Lockheed Martin have seen a spike in share prices since the conflict began. Last Sunday, the White House said they will provide Ukraine with a shipment of Stinger missiles, which are made by none other than Raytheon. One day later, U.S. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell called for at least a 5% increase in defense spending in the president's next budget. Raytheon's share price soared that day. Across the Atlantic, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz pledged 100 billion euros in military spending. With countries looking to ramp up defenses, weapon manufacturers around the world could surely benefit.
It's not the US only phenomenon. We have seen similar increase for the interest in those military-related technologies in other markets.
Another sector that could stand to profit is the US energy industry. Upon Russia's escalation towards Ukraine, Germany suspended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, a project that promised to send Russian gas to Europe via Germany. It was a political win for the US, since all administrations from Obama to Trump to Biden opposed the project, which would see their key allies in the EU heavily dependent on Russian gas. Now with sanctions in place, European countries could look to others, like Norway, for alternatives. But the Scandinavian country is already delivering gas to Europe at maximum capacity. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the American energy sector is in the midst of a renaissance since the pandemic crippled the market. As oil prices inch closer to $100 a barrel, American shale gas and oil producers are expanding again and may profit from Europe's demand somewhere down the road.
Shale gas has a cost structure. They can come on production only if the price goes above a certain threshold. I believe that threshold has been crossed. But to ramp up production and to then export the oil and gas, the shale gas, from the US to Europe, that takes time.
But others question whether such a windfall could last.
So we still have to face the fact that the US gas and oil are generally higher cost and lower quality comparing to the Russian ones. If with the current level of conflict, people would have more interest and higher tolerance for such higher cost. But once the situation normalized, I believe the cost conscious sentiment will come back.
Last but not least, wheat. Russia is the world's biggest wheat producer. Together with Ukraine, they account for a quarter of global wheat exports. Analysts expect its price to jump, especially as supplies dwindle.
We have to realize that the share of wheat traded internationally is quite small, and that means the market is thin. By thin, I mean if there is a sudden change in supply, the price volatility will just go way up.
But can you guess who the second biggest wheat exporter is? That's right, America. Its wheat exports had been lackluster at the start of the year, with analysts even saying that there was a real chance of missing out on the Department of Agriculture's 2021-22 marketing forecast. But now, however, experts are beginning to consider American wheat as a replacement for Russia's, at least in the short term. Of course, as the conflict drags on and a ceasefire not yet in sight, many American companies stand to lose money as well. We are seeing this major geopolitical event send shockwaves throughout global supply and demand right before our eyes.